Okay, for all of y'all that are kind of as old as I am, don't make me mirror and channel my inner Garrett Morris. Can anybody tell me who Garrett Morris was?
Yeah, Saturday Night Live.
You remember the skit of "He said"? So that now that we have some quiet, we'll get started. Thank you for being with us on this amazing morning. It may not look so pretty outside, but it's certainly beautiful inside. Welcome to the Port of Little Rock. I'm Jay Cheshire, and on behalf of our chairman, Nat Lee of the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce, Clay McGeorge, the chair of the Port Authority, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, Brian Day, the star of the show, obviously running the Port of Little Rock. We're here today to celebrate a major milestone in the history at the port. You know, over a decade ago, the Little Rock Regional Chamber and the port began a process of assembling a Megasite to place Little Rock and Arkansas in competition for a major economic development project. I love that ringtone. One that would create a generational impact. You know, we've had some amazing announcements here, not only at the port, obviously in Central Arkansas, but we're talking about a project that will have generational impact with suppliers and downstream effects on the local, regional, statewide, and even mid-regional economy of the United States. After a decade of fundraising and regulatory work, which we could spend 3 days talking about, to relocate the VOR cone, we're going to talk about that in just a minute with our congressman, the Little Rock Port Megasite is finally set to achieve nationally recognized site certification this morning through Entergy Arkansas. Before I invite Danny Games up to tell us what that means, I got a call this morning from my youngest son. He asked me what I was doing on my birthday. Don't start singing, please. And I explained to him that we were going through a site certification. He said, "Dad, what's that?" And I said, "Well, son, you remember going squirrel hunting with your granddad?" And he said, "Well, yes." And I said, "Do you remember how proud he was of that squirrel dog?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Do you remember what he used to say about that squirrel dog?" He said, "No." I said, "Finest dog that ever loped through the woods, and it's all papered up," which meant it was certified. So we're here to paper up the Megasite. Danny Games, Vice President of Entergy, and who's also been a huge partner with us, is going to come tell us all about it.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Jay, it is a privilege to spend your 39th birthday with you again. It really appreciate your kind remarks, Jay, and I just want to begin by thanking you and your great team for your selfless and great leadership for the many, many good things that are happening in Little Rock and all across Central Arkansas. It is a great day. It's a beautiful day in Little Rock. I think Tuesday was debatable, but almost every day is a great day in Little Rock, and it's an honor on this occasion just to make a few comments, and an even greater honor just to be joined by the other speakers who have committed really most of their adult lives in making Arkansas and Central Arkansas just a great place to live, work, and play. Executive Director Clint O'Neill, Congressman or Chairman French Hill, our Mayor Frank Scott, Judge Barry Hyde, Little Rock Port Authority Chairman Clay McGeorge. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and I'm glad to share this occasion with you. As Jay mentioned, I also want to thank and recognize Brian Day, Jack Thomas, and one of Entergy's unsung heroes, Tandy White. Where are you, Tandy? There you are, Tandy. Thank you. they were all very, very instrumental in getting us to this day. So thank you for rolling up your sleeves and laying the groundwork for much success to come. So just by way of background and very briefly, our economic development team has administered the Select Site Certification Initiative for 20 years. It's intended to help the communities that we serve develop more competitive industrial sites by conducting all of the front-end due diligence, the papering up, as Jay said, all of the front-end due diligence in order to reduce time, cost, and risk for prospective companies. And like every competitive endeavor, the better team, the better product, and the better community wins. So over the past 12 months and arguably over the past 2 years, we've worked closely with the Little Rock Chamber and the Little Rock Port Authority in pursuing all of the pertinent information related to this large site, including property acquisition, geotechnical reports, a Phase 1 environmental assessment, a cultural review, information on utilities, mapping, and numerous other data points. The compilation of all of these pertinent details communicates readiness, confidence, and a superior site to site selectors and prospective companies contemplating multi-million or multi-billion dollar investments. This has already been proven by former, I love the word former, certified sites at the port, but none to this scale. So to our friends at the Little Rock Chamber and the Little Rock Port Authority, thank you. You have done great work. So therefore, I am pleased to announce this morning that Entergy Arkansas's newest certified select site is the Little Rock Port's 875-acre Megasite. I also want to acknowledge that one very, very important piece of any major undertaking of this scale like this are the cost, and what I refer to as the investments. We have invested funding to help offset some of the cost of certification and are constructing a new substation. The city has been very instrumental with land acquisition and infrastructure. The county has spearheaded federal funding for road and rail. Central Arkansas Water has made infrastructure investments, and the governor and the Arkansas Economic Development Commission announced a major investment in the site, which I'm sure Clint will address in his comments. Investments in infrastructure and property have proven successful. We know that. They have proven successful at the Little Rock Port, as evidenced by the growth in recent announcements. This all requires confidence in your team, your partners, and your mission. And that's not lost on us. So as a partner with you, I want to thank each of you for your investments in an important asset for all of Central Arkansas. With that, I would like to introduce someone who has a lot of experience and appreciates the value of certified sites and was the catalyst behind the state's site development grant program, which led to investments in this site and other sites across the state. Please help me welcome and thank my friend and the Executive Director of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, Clint O'Neill.
Thank you, Danny. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's great to be with you here this morning. Again, just want to say thank you to Danny Games and the team at Entergy Arkansas. You know, we are so privileged in the state of Arkansas, our economic development team, to have such strong utility partners like Entergy Arkansas. I think it's something that not every one of my counterparts across the country have, and it's one of the reasons that we're winning in economic development. We need Entergy to continue to be strong and at the table as they are to be able to provide power, as power is such a driving force for projects. So we're here today announcing this new certified site, this select site with Entergy, and we'll be back one day talking about the company that's going to create jobs and make investments on this very site. I remember we were at another select site announcement just a few years ago in Central Arkansas in Maumelle when they were going through their Entergy select site process, and somebody made the comment, we'll be back announcing jobs at this very site. And we were back with Tractor Supply Company announcing jobs at that very site. So that's what we'll be doing here at the Port of Little Rock. You know, we often say in economic development that it's a team sport, that there's no individual heroes or MVPs. But then again, I mean, Jack Thomas did win the Economic Developer of the Year, so I guess there are some studs in economic development. But from Jack to Jay to Danny, all of our speakers here, so instrumental in what we do. And as Danny alluded to, thanks to the leadership of Governor Sanders, of Secretary McDonald, we rolled out Arkansas's first site development program earlier this year. The Arkansas Site Development Program, funded to the tune of $10 million in a competitive grant process, of which I think if you're wondering why I was invited here to speak, over to my left may be part of the reason. But through the competitive grant process, being able to provide funding of $2 million for infrastructure development. And it's really simple. If we bring a prospect to town, thank you, Mayor.
We want two more.
Thank you, Mayor. So we are hoping to roll out future phases of the site development program, so appreciate that. But it's real simple. If you bring a prospect to town and you show them a site where the infrastructure is not quite there, there's trees all over the site, and you tell them, please have an imagination and please trust me. By the time you are ready for the engineering and the construction, we'll have the infrastructure there. We'll have the due diligence taken care of. They'll say, well, if I go down the road and I find something that's better, something that eliminates risk, something where the infrastructure is already there, something that does not require me to trust you or to have an imagination, guess where they're going to go? And so we're eliminating risk. We're making sites more attractive. We're making bold statements when, when companies, site selection consultants continue to know about this site, know that it has Entergy's select site, certified site approval. To this, it's big news, and prospects will be looking, and again, really look forward to the day that we come back here and announce major investments and jobs being created on this site. So thank you to everybody involved. Happy birthday, Jay, and everybody have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, Clint. And I also want to say a very special thank you to obviously Commerce Secretary Hugh McDonald. I know he's there sitting right here. And then next to him also we have Senator Jane English. What Clint just said echoed to me from the perspective of what we're dealing with right now from a state's perspective in the legislature. It's one thing to go and see a site that's fully developed, which obviously being certified like we are, we're there now. It's another thing to go to a site that's fully developed and has all of the required power, gas, whatever the scenario may be, to make that project work. And so, Senator English, we really appreciate your work this week in the Senate as we've been working through the process of generating Arkansas jobs and the bill that we're trying to modernize our capacity to be able to create electricity as well as to transmit it. So those are the unsung heroes in all of these projects. And those are the things that aren't really talked about, but what they are doing right now is important to all of us. And Clint, in October of last year, during the same week, we stood out here and announced two $100+ million projects First with Faymonville of Luxembourg, and then secondly with Wellspun and their expansion of India. These two projects made the 10th and the 11th major investment at the port since 2020. In each of these investments, Clint, Hugh, and their team have played a role, and now through the creation of the state's first site development program, they're also already playing an important role in attracting even more investment to the port, as you can see by virtue of the cardboard check. I can tell you that that cardboard was really important, because when we talk about preparing a site for a project, it's not just, hey, is there water on it, or hey, what does it look like from a zoning perspective? You literally have to dig deep into the ground and look at the environmental aspect, the cultural aspect, as well as the physical aspect of the property, and that takes a lot of money. And Hugh, Clint, we really appreciate you guys. Jane, from the legislative perspective, we appreciate you guys in helping invest in this project. Now to our next speaker, my good friend and former boss. I had the blessing of working under French when he was the chairman of the Little Rock Chamber, the Little Rock Regional Chamber back in 2013, 2012, in that range somewhere. But the one thing that marked his tenure as chairman of the Little Rock Regional Chamber was he was always asking, what's next? What's next? We talked about the tech park. We went and looked at a building in Fayetteville that was being utilized from an entrepreneurial standpoint that wasn't being very utilized that day, and he laughingly looked at me and said, so this is what you want to create? And I said, no, I want to create this with a whole bunch of people in it. And obviously the Little Rock Tech Park was part of what came out of that. In 2016, I called him requesting help in scheduling a meeting with the FAA. I had called the FAA several times and unfortunately had not received an answer to just simply talk about this thing called a VOR cone that we'll talk a little bit more about later today. With that omnidirectional VORTAC cone, it's really important, obviously, to airplanes flying not only through this area, but landing here, Memphis, even Dallas, and others. And at the time, I couldn't get our friends, and they have become friends at the FAA, to return a phone call. So I called French and I said, I need some help. And literally within 2 days, had the opportunity to go and have a meeting with the FAA to start talking about this process. Every step of the way, both Congressman Hill and Senator Bozeman stood tall every time we needed them to help us get past, over, through, or around an obstacle to get to today. Because if we don't move that VOR cone, then this site is not actually workable because it's so close to that cone that you can't build on it. So what you're seeing today started back in 2016. This was the first step in a decade-long journey in partnership with Brian and the Port Authority to study the site, acquire the property, build the infrastructure, and now take the site to market, which we're officially doing today. We're so blessed to have Congressman, or better known as Mr. Chairman, French Hill representing us in Washington, and equally as blessed to have him here with us today. He's doing amazing work. He's been doing amazing work since he's been in Washington, but today really marks a moment in time when if it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't be standing here. Congressman French Hill.
Happy birthday, Jay. Thank you. It's great to be with the mayor, great to be with Secretary McDonald, Judge Hyde, my longtime friend and former partner for building a lot of buildings for my company prior to being in Congress. So Barry, thanks for all your leadership on this. Entergy, thank you. Mr. Chairman of the Port. Where's Brian Day?
Back here.
Always in the back, but always in front when it comes to leading, and I couldn't be more grateful for Brian. We only have a 55-year friendship, so to see him excel in running and driving the mission of the port has been such a distinct privilege for me. And when I see my good friend Bobby Brown in the audience too, If we wouldn't have the port without Fred Isaac Brown, Bobby's dad, who when you look back on it, for 60 years, Little Rock has made a commitment to economic development from city councils, from mayors, from county judges, but also from the private sector. And we wouldn't have this or have this opportunity if it hadn't been for that public-private partnership to say, we're going to do this. And when I think about that for the past 6 decades, you see that adoption curve accelerate, and it's because of that partnership, from power to water to rail to air to logistics, and it's just been amazing to watch in the last decade, particularly, that come to fruition. And Senator, so good to see you, and Representative Collins, nice to see you, and thanks for all the work in the legislature that you do to help make this all work together. Couldn't do it without all those resources. When I ran for Congress, people said, what's your agenda? What do you want to accomplish when you're in Congress? And I said, what are my mayors and my county judges and my state legislators and my governor thinking about? Because the role of the federal government in this kind of instance is that of another partner to try to remove barriers and create opportunity for our local citizens. And here, the barrier was a real one. We got a piece of metal out here from 1947 that couldn't be moved, and the FAA didn't want to move it. And we had problems here moving it because the Air Force Base has to have it, because the H model C-130 is not a digital aircraft. It requires analog signal communication, which the VOR cone provides, even though all of American aviation is going digital. And so the plan that Brian and Jay and John Bozeman and I hatched is, you want to go digital, you need to partner with us. And so we would have made this a lot faster if we hadn't gone through the pandemic. It's kind of ironic that in the pandemic, FAA officials won't drive somewhere. Let that sink in. They wouldn't drive over here from Oklahoma City. They were on a no travel bump. But you're at the FAA. How can the FAA have a no travel rule? And as many of you know, the federal view of COVID was a lot more extensive than the Little Rock view on COVID. So it delayed us. But we're here celebrating today, and this is one of the happiest days that I've seen as a banker, as a former chairman of this chamber, and certainly as a congressman. And it reminds me of the success back in my Delta Trust days when Governor Mike Beebe asked me to get involved in creating Big River. And that has been an extraordinary success story and put Arkansas on the map internationally because of the success through Big River, its successors, and all that's happened. And Hugh McDonald was so deeply involved in that in his private capacity, then CEO at Entergy Arkansas. So that's the feeling I have today, driving down here today, is this is the next big site for Arkansas that's going to put Arkansas once again back on the map, and that'll be something that Mayor Scott, Governor Sanders, Judge Hyde, and all the private sector leaders here today will be able to celebrate. And I'm proud to be a small part of it. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Congressman. As already has been said, and Representative Andrew Collins, I apologize for not seeing that you were in the room, because you're part of this whole process, and we greatly appreciate the work that you're doing. You know, the communities that not only own the land, but develop infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the road, the rail, the gas, the electricity, you can just go on and on and on, have a significant advantage. I've always been asked, you know, there's a major interstate that runs between here and Memphis. Why don't we have facilities all up and down that highway, that interstate highway? And the answer is the infrastructure's not there yet to be able to do this kind of thing. Infrastructure is extremely expensive. And so under the leadership of Mayor Frank Scott Jr. and the Little Rock City Board of Directors, they have gotten it. And I tell people all of the time, I have worked in this business for over 30 years. I have never had a mayor and a city board of directors that have gotten it like they do. In fact, they've invested over $30 million right here at the Little Rock Port since 2020. Think about that. Yes. Over $30 million since 2020. But what has that provided? During that same time, we have attracted over $1.2 billion in private sector investment because of their investment. Let's give them another round of applause. You know, the last time we were out here certifying a site, we landed Amazon. Thousands of jobs later, we recognize the importance of the process and what it means, not only for Little Rock and for Arkansas, but for the companies that are looking at sites like this. You know, I was asked a couple of weeks ago in a press conference at the Capitol on the electric issue. Well, we've not turned away anybody because of the lack of electricity. And you're right. We can't tell you that we've turned away anybody because of that. But what we can tell you is they can read just like we can. And if the capacity isn't here, whether it's water, sewer, gas, electric, whatever it may be, we never have the opportunity to explain that away in a meeting because they've moved to a site where they know those things exist. Mayor Scott and the City of Little Rock, the Board of Directors, have made job creation a priority, and that continues to pay off. Please join me in who I call the quarterback of our team, because obviously it's a team effort. The quarterback of our team, our great economic development team that continues to win, and with today's announcement, makes us one step closer to that next win, the Mayor of Little Rock, Mayor Frank Scott Jr.
Jay, happy birthday as well. You definitely do not look your age. Jay is a dear friend, and I'm very grateful that he's here with us. It's often said that a problem doesn't happen overnight. Progress doesn't happen overnight either. And as I stand here today, this really is a full circle moment. Having been a member of the Little Rock Port Authority and remembering when Jay and Congressman Hill were very instrumental in walking alongside the Little Rock Port to address the VOR cone. Quite frankly, I didn't know what the heck a VOR cone was at that time. But I did know it was a barrier to progress. And when you think about barriers to progress, and when you think about the city and what we've been able to do alongside the City of Little Rock Board of Directors, I want to recognize Vice Mayor Wire. She's here with us today, representing the entire city board, is that we have to have true teamwork. And what you see with us today is close to a decade of progress and teamwork, whether it's been with Congressman Hill and Senator Bozeman really being the tireless titans in D.C. to blow through each and every barrier that came our way. Whether it's been the staunch leadership of Brian Day and the Little Rock Port Authority commissioners to make certain that we have the shovel-ready sites because we're receiving the playbook from Jay Cheshire and Jack Thomas in the Little Rock Regional Chamber. We are executing the plays of teamwork. And when you're on one accord, that politics doesn't matter, your party doesn't matter, the only thing matters is a J-O-B. That's exactly what we're able to do, to create this ministry. We've seen close to 12,000 new jobs that have been created, and many of those jobs happen right here in the Little Rock Port. It is representing close to 20 counties across this state. That's the reason why when you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that the City of Little Rock and the Little Rock region continue to lead the way in jobs. But we have to keep fueling the tank. And this site selection process alongside Energy Arkansas and their team will help us create generational and transformational change. We heard the history of a FedEx and the decisions that we did not make. We have the opportunity to right those wrongs to change the trajectory of our city. And that takes with preparation. And this is what we're doing right now. We're preparing for what is going to come. But also in that preparation, as I look at members of the House and the Senate, we're grateful for State Representative Collins and Senator Jane English and everyone who's working on. We have to have not only this site, we got to have power. And so Representative Collins, when I know Senator Jane English is going to vote to make certain that it gets passed, it'll allow us to have the load to take us to the next step and the next level. So Entergy, so Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority with Gene Block, and many others can take us and have the load that some type of game-changing company, whether it's a Tesla, whether it's a Google, whether it's a Facebook, whatever the company may be, it will change the trajectory. And teamwork, preparation, and being bold is allow that change to happen. Thank you.
As you look around the port, you will see new road construction, new rail construction, and a number of other infrastructure projects, all because of the leadership of our next speaker. For those of you that drive to the site today, you'll drive on a brand new industrial grade road that he and his team helped create the funding to get constructed. You'll see a rail bed for a new rail line that was funded by the federal EDA, funding that was secured by he and his team. Infrastructure is foundational for success. We would not have this site that we have today. We would not have some of the recently discussed announcements that we've already had if not for our next speaker being a tireless advocate for not only the development of this port, but all of Pulaski County. You know, I often tell folks that we have secret weapons. One of our secret weapons is a county judge that was a contractor. He not only gets it, he understands how to get it. Please welcome with me our Pulaski County Judge, Barry Hyde.
Thank you, Jay. And is it really your birthday? Okay. Happy birthday. I want to thank everyone for their support and their willingness to partner with Pulaski County on yet another meaningful expansion project that will benefit everyone in Central Arkansas. And our collaborations and dedication to investing in our infrastructure continues to pay dividends for the region and are securing a stable economic future for the region. As civic and business leaders, we understand that the well-being of our citizens and the strength of our economy are intertwined. Private and public partnerships continue to drive our efforts and bolster economic opportunities. And as a result of our partnerships, we have witnessed extraordinary economic development, with many employers and businesses opting to expand or to locate their operations right here in Pulaski County and typically in the Little Rock Port. And we couldn't make these improvements or additions without the great work of Brian Day, Jack, Jay, and many others, all working together. With each new employer we attract to our region, we're cultivating a brighter future for those who choose to call Pulaski County and Central Arkansas home. And in order to continue our upward trajectory of economic growth, we must stay committed to working together on behalf of each and every one of our citizens. We flourish and achieve together. As a result, our communities, public amenities, and quality of life thrives as well. Thank you all for your work.
And as we come to the end, the port is home to over 50 companies from 8 different countries that employ approximately 10,000 people from 48 Arkansas counties. Think about that. This would not be possible without the vision and commitment from the port, its Executive Director, Brian Day, his staff, and the Little Rock Port Authority Board of Directors, who've played an amazing role in the growth of the port. Representing the Port Authority Board today, please join me in welcoming a person whose family has been a part of this process, not only here at the port, but especially in Central Arkansas for decades and decades and decades, and they just keep giving back. Brian McGeorge Clay McGeorge, the chairman of the Little Rock Port Authority. Brian's going to kill me.
Good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for participating in this exciting announcement. This is a big day for the Port of Little Rock. I'd like to take a moment to recognize my fellow board members. If you just raise your Bobby Brown, Melissa Hendricks, and Stan Hastings, right over there. I mentioned this before, but in 1959, the Little Rock City Council created the Port of Little Rock to grow jobs in our community. Today, we have over 10,000 Arkansans making a living in the Port of Little Rock. We are Arkansas's largest industrial park, and we are very proud of that fact. This announcement today represents another watershed moment for the Port of Little Rock. Our team, working with the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce and Energy Arkansas, have done the work to certify this port's Megasite as a select site. This is a huge win for the port, and this certification will help us market the site to companies from around the world. Excuse me. We are not done. Our team will continue acquiring land and investing in infrastructure on our journey to remain competitive on the global stage and to accomplish the goal of creating jobs for this community. We will do everything within our power to become America's best connected inland port. Now, as I end my remarks, I hope you enjoy this video of the Megasite. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you to Entergy again. As the video showed, we've completed over a 50-point certification process to make this site certified in the eyes of site location consultants. It's a costly process, over $500,000 in due diligence studies alone, hundreds of man hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, we're blessed to have so many people willing to invest in economic development. We also recognize that this is just the next step in our journey. Obviously, after today, we will begin marketing the site officially. Our ultimate destination is to attract that generational changing economic development project that we've been talking about. Following today's designation, We're kicking off the marketing plan, and we'll have this in front of some of the nation's top site location consultants, also corporate executives from across the world, and people that have already asked about information regarding the site itself. So, as we conclude today, we want you to know, if you're interested, a bus tour is available both for media members as well as guests if you'd like to see the site. It's the beginning of an amazing next step on what we hope in just a few short years to be standing back out here announcing something that's going to change the course of the economy for the positive, not only for Central Arkansas, but for all of Arkansas. When you look at 48 different counties, having people drive here to work every day, this isn't just Little Rock's port. This is Arkansas's port, and it's going to continue to grow. Thank you and have a great day.